We need to start living consciously because the solution to our problems lies in our inner talk. The higher self within us all wants to become aware so it can do what it was meant to do. Now it is time to act. Now it is time for change. The right inner speech is what you would say if your ideal were already here. In other words, it's the speech of a fulfilled desire. Now you will understand how wise the ancients were when they said in the Hermetica, there are two gifts God has given only to humans and no other creature. These two are mind and speech, and having mind and speech is the same as having immortality. Inner talking creates reality. We all talk to ourselves, and it's a habit we can't really stop, just like we can't stop eating or drinking. But what we can do is control what we say to ourselves. Most of us don't realize that the things we say in our heads are actually shaping our lives. As the saying goes, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. But do we really understand that our thoughts follow the path set by our inner conversation? If we want to change the direction of our lives, we need to change these inner conversations. The Bible refers to our old way of thinking as the old man and tells us to renew our minds. Hello, this is Fatima. I'm reading The Inner Talking Creates Reality by Neville Goddard. Our speech reflects what's in our mind. So, to change our minds, we need to first change the way we talk to ourselves. By speech, I'm talking about the mental conversations we have. Our world is full of endless possibilities. Why? Because there are endless ways we can think and talk to ourselves. Once we discover the creative power of inner talking, we realize our purpose in life. We can then act with intention. Without this knowledge, we are just going through the motions. Everything we experience is a result of the conversations we have with ourselves, often without even knowing it. But to live a purposeful life, we need to become aware of these conversations and act with intention. The things we say to ourselves attract our life experiences. If we don't change our inner talking, our lives stay the same. Trying to change the world without changing our inner conversation is like trying to fight against the natural order of things. We might go through the same disappointments and challenges over and over, not realizing that they are caused by our negative inner talk. Instead, we might blame others. This idea might seem far-fetched, but it's something we can explore and test for ourselves. Just like a chemist tests the formula, we can test the idea that our words becomes our reality. For example, a girl once told me about the problems she was having with her boss. She felt he was unfair and didn't appreciate her efforts. When I hear this story, I explained that if she thought he was unfair, it was a sign she needed to change her inner conversation. So she was mentally arguing with him all day long. It was obvious, which was only making things worse. Once she realized this, she agreed to change her thoughts. She started imagining her boss praising her work, and she would thank him for his kindness. To her surprise, she soon realized that her attitude was causing the problem. Her boss's behavior changed, reflecting the new conversations she was having in her mind. Whenever I see someone, I wonder what kind of conversation they are stuck in or what invisible thread they are following. We need to start living consciously because the solution to our problems lies in our inner talk. The higher self within us all wants to become aware so it can do what it was meant to do. So maybe you ask, what is this higher self supposed to do? It's supposed to imitate its creator, to become a master of words and inner talking so that it can shape the world into a place of love. The Bible tells us, be imitator of God as dear children. How do we imitate God? We are told that God speaks things into existence as if they already exist and they become real. This is how the girl brought praise and kindness from her boss. She carried on an imaginary conversation with him, assuming he had already praised her, and he did. Our inner conversations shape the world we live in. Our individual worlds are a reflection of our inner speech. We are told that every idle word we speak will come back to us, for by our words we will be justified or condemned. We often let ourselves get lost in negative inner talking, yet we expect to stay in control of our lives. But our current mental conversations don't fade away as we think. They move into the future to meet us as either wasted or invested words. The prophet said, "My word will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire." Here's another thing. How would I use my words to help my friend? I would imagine hearing his voice, feeling his presence, and placing my hand on him. I would then congratulate him on his good fortune, tell him how great he looks, and listen as though I heard him. He's never felt better. In this loving and knowing connection, my word would be sent out, and it would not return empty, but would bring about the result I wanted. Now it is time to act. Now it is time for change. It's only what we do now that counts, even if the effects aren't visible until later. We don't need to shout out loud. Just a strong, focused inner effort is enough. To listen intently as if you heard is to create. To events and relationships in our lives are our words made visible. Most of us block others from being kind and generous by holding on to negative thoughts about them. Our attitudes unfold within us as mental conversations. Inner talking based on fulfilled desires is the way to consciously creating our circumstances. Our inner conversations are always reflected around us in our happiness. So, what we want to see and hear in the outside world, we must first see and hear inside ourselves. The whole world shows us how we have used our words. If you practice controlling your inner speech, you will understand what it means to say, "And now I have told you before it happened, so that when it happens, you might believe." You will be able to use your imagination consciously to turn the immense creative energies of your inner speech into physical reality. What is your goal? Does your inner talking match that goal? It must if you want to achieve it. As the prophet asked, can two walk together unless they agree? Of course not. The two that must agree are your inner conversation and your desired state. What you want to see and hear in the outside world, you must first see and hear inside yourself. Every step forward we make is through the conscious use of our imagination, aligning our inner speech with our desired outcome. As we control our inner talking to match our fulfilled desires, we can let go of all other methods. Then we simply act with clear imagination and intention. We imagine the wish fulfilled and carry on mental conversations from that point of view. The right inner speech is what you would say if your ideal were already here. In other words, it's the speech of a fulfilled desire. Now you will understand how wise the ancients were when they said in the Hermetica, there are two gifts God has given only to humans and no other creature. These two are mind and speech, and having mind and speech is the same as having immortality. If a person uses these gifts correctly, they will become like the gods. And when they leave their body, mind and speech will guide them to join the gods and the blessed souls. With the gift of mind and speech, you create the conditions and circumstances of your life. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word, said Hermes, is the Son, and mind is the Father of the world. They are not separate, because life is the union of Word and mind. You and your inner talking or word are one. If your mind is one with your inner conversation, then to change your mind is to change your conversation. It was a deep insight that led Paul to write, "Put off the old conversation, then old self, which is corrupt, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Put on the new self." Putting on the new self and being renewed in the spirit of your mind means changing your inner conversation, because speech and mind are one. A change in speech is a change in mind. The prophet Samuel said, "The Lord spoke through me, and his word was on my tongue." If the Lord's word was on the prophet's tongue, then the Lord's mouth must be the prophet's mind, because inner conversations start in the mind and cause tiny speech movements in the tongue. The prophet is telling us that the mouth of God is the mind of man, and that our inner conversations are the words of God creating life around us as we create it within ourselves. In the Bible, it says that the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, so you can do it. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil, blessing and curses. Choose life. The conditions and circumstances of life are not created by some external power. They come from your freedom to choose, the freedom to choose the ideas you respond to. Now is the time to act. This is the day to be saved. Whatever things are good, think about these things, because your future will be formed by the Word of God, which is your present inner talking. You create your future by your inner conversation. The words were framed by the words of God, which is your inner talking. If you want to succeed, you must think successful thoughts. The idea that starts your inner conversation is the blueprint for your outer world. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Be mindful of your inner conversations and free them from negative thoughts. Your word shapes your world. Use it wisely. Thank you so much for being with me today. Happy manifesting and goodbye.